What's up, guys? Keyshawn Uchia here, back at you with another part to an Ocean Universe What If. Now, I have an announcement to make. I know I have not been doing videos for the last couple of days. I've been reading y'all comments, and y'all been going after my ass. Y'all have been really crucifying me and saying, "Hey, yo, Keyshawn Uchia, what you doing? Like, why have you not been posting up videos? Why have you not been doing this?" And I've been really busy. I had to do a lot of stuff. I had to get a lot of work done. I had to be looking for jobs and stuff. And just life is really not going in my hand. I had to do a fight. I had to do a lot of things, all right? And you could say my face is still hurting from a fight. So I ain't gonna go into too much detail about that. But anywho, I will give y'all two videos today, not one. So I'm going to crunch y'all dust. Crunch, or or I can say make y'all stop being thirsty of parts. So I'll give y'all two videos today, and I will hopefully maybe give you a third video today, or maybe like two videos tomorrow. Okay. So y'all guys don't have to be crucifying me and saying we want more parts. So okay. So I will give y'all two videos today, and it'll be the videos that I will choose. So y'all don't have a choice in this. All right. But this will be What If Naruto Was a Hoe Part 2, Female Naruto, and I will do another part to another video that has a part 1, okay? So if you're ready to do, let's get started. Oh, and also, 18X disclaimer. This will contain sex, possibly gore, guts, and fighting. So if you can't handle none of this, oh, and one more rule. Hold some holdery too. So if you can't handle this stuff, if you can't handle the dark kitchen, please get the fuck out the kitchen because shit's about to get spicy. But any further ado, let's get started. So when we last start off, pretty much Naruto-kun, or Naruto-chan, pretty much was walking with Sakura to her house because Naruto-chan pretty much lives with Sakura until Hiruzen can find a proper house for her, and also uh, to get ready for the bell test. That's the quick recap. Let's get started with the new part. So we start off with Naruto. Well, no, we start off with X, Donzo's son. Pretty much is in his lab messing with two experiments. Now, these experiments has the DNA of Krishna and Minato. Now, these are clones of Krishna and Minato. Now, they have they have the memories. Well, they have the same brain because we're gonna say Donzo took the brains from Krishna and Minato and also their DNA, and he wanted to recreate them to make them as weapons. You could say, and also to have the other half of the nine tails, which Donzo has, the other half of the nine tails. If you're asking how he has it, you're just gonna say it just works, alright? Now, as he has the other part, he's pretty much put the good side of the nine tails in Kushina. Well, the clone Kushina and Minato is in the other lab too. Correct. Now, of course, he remembers all the techniques and stuff, and the last part of their memory before they died was having a daughter, and they died of doing it. Now, of giving their daughter a chance. Now, as they're in the tube, they're pretty much getting created and stuff. But they're also being given other DNAs and stuff, which X is pretty much saying, "Ah, oh, splendid. These clones, these clones will be these clones of the Hokage and the and his wife will be perfect to track down to track down my experiments. Oh, oh Naruto-kun, I will find you." Pretty much him, like, determined to find her. But as he's trying to find her, he's also making other clones of, you could say, Naruto's mom and female Naruto mom and dad, so they can help him find her. Now, this is where we switch to Naruto-chan, and she's pretty much laying in bed with Sakura. Now, this is where Sakura is pretty much getting up, and you could say hesitate, but kisses Naruto-chan on the forehead and tells her to wake up. They have to get ready for they have to get to the bell test. Which she pretty much is still in bed saying 5 more minutes. Which this is where Sakura says, "No, you have to get up now." Which she says, "All right." Now, as she's getting up, this is where she's getting dressed and stuff. And Sakura and Naruto Naruto Chan begins to walk together. Now they pretty much make it at the field, and Sasuke is already there. But this is where, of course, Kakashi's taking for her, which this is where, of course, we're going to see Naruto-kun, or Naruto-chan, begins to say, alright, and she does the summoning jutsu, because we're going to say the Forbidden Scroll has, a placement jutsu where you can summon, where you can put stuff in scrolls, and kind of like that weapon scroll where you can summon weapons and stuff. Now, this is where she brings out three bowls of ramen, and as she says, she knew this was about to happen, which Sakura and Sasuke says, you brought food, which, of course, this is where Naruto-chan says, yes, of course, because I knew he was about to take forever to pretty much come here. So let's eat up and get properly prepared before he comes, which the two of them agreed, and he begins to eat. Now, as they're eating and stuff, this is where, of course, Kakashi comes in, and they're already done eating, so Kakashi comes in and says sorry that he took forever. He was lost in the road of life, which they all make a face. Now, this is where, of course, Kakashi takes out the two bells and explains the bell test and all the mechanics and stuff. Now, this is where only Sasuke says there's only two bells, which this is where, of course, Kakashi says, well, one of y'all's not going to make it, which they're all shocked, except for Naruto and Sasuke. They're not shocked because they know there's something up to this, because we're going to say Sasuke is a little bit more intelligent and not emo and edgy this time, because let's say he finally lost his got his cherry pop. So yeah, we're gonna say that gives him the benefits. Now, of course, this is where Sakura is shocked and she's scared because she knows she's gonna get, you know, disqualified and sent back to the academy because she haven't been really doing her ninjutsu training or anything. This is where, of course, Naruto-chan, she grabs her hand and says, "Stop being all nervous. You're gonna pass with us. You're gonna figure out some way." Which Sakura, she looks down and says, "Yeah." Now this is where Kakashi says, "Are you marked?" They said, "Go," and they all begin to, jump away, and Naruto-chan begins to jump with Sakura. Now this is where she creates a wood clone, because we're gonna say she's been practicing wood, her wood style, and she makes wood clones. Now, of course, they're both. Now, of course, this is where she creates like about 10 of them, because, like I said, she has a lot of chakra due to the experiments, and plus with the Kinky Kinkai of which I forgot his name, with the bone release, or bone Kinkai, I forgot what you call it, but pretty much they begin to start charging at Kakashi. With Kakashi is pretty much not breaking a sweat, but as he's kicking them and punching or sending them flying into a tree, they begin to get back up, not the bursting that easily, which he's confused and saying, "What?" And he begins to say, I guess I'm gonna have to put this book away for now and stop them." Now, this is where, of course, she begins to talk to Sakura and tell her what is the plan, which Sakura is saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure I can do that?" Which Naruto-chan, she says, "Of course I believe in you, and of course I know you can do it. I seen you did this trap jutsu before, where you pretty much caught someone with it, but you failed at it because you didn't believe in it. You gotta have more believe in yourself and have more faith in yourself." Which she says, "Okay." Now, this is where, of course, another clone, and we're gonna say a wood clone, of pretty much of Naruto-chan goes to Sasuke, which Sasuke is pretty much, waiting for the right time to go get the bells. Now, this is where, of course, Naruto-chan clone comes in and talks to Sasuke, which Sasuke begins to listen and start talking. Now, of course, this is where Sasuke begins to say, so this is going to be the plan, which Naruto-chan, she says yes, and she pretty much kisses him on the lip and says good luck, which he begins to blush. Now, this is where, of course, Kakashi jumps up and he fires. We're gonna say two fireballs, and he dispatched them, makes them all disappear. Now, of course, this is where he sees a wood style. And he sees the clones turning into wood. Well, turning hardened into wood, and he sees them dispatch, and he's like, "What? Wood style? How can she have?" Now, this is where, of course, she comes out, and of course, this is where Kakashi pulls out his Sharingan, saying, "Huh, look like you got wood style. Look like I'm gonna have to go serious then." And he pulls out his Sharingan. Now, this is where he's about to charge it till he realizes he's stuck. And he looks and he sees the two other clones that he forgot to dispatch turns into hard wood, and they're holding him still. Now, of course, this is where he realized that it's about to be the end. This is where, of course, this is where we're gonna say Naruto-chan, she forms a Rasengan. And I know what you're saying, a Rasengan? That was in the Forbidden Scroll? Yes, it is. And she begins to throw a kunai, saying, I hope I master this right." Throws a kunai, and Kakashi dodge his head so he won't get cut by the kunai. And this is where Naruto-chan teleports and throws a Rasengan right at Kakashi's back, which Kakashi feels the full blood force and gets hit by it. It gets it flying forward to a tree. Now, of course, this is where Kakashi says, my back, and begins to get up and says, alright, and realizes he stepped on a tripwire, which this is where a rope come out of nowhere and lifts him up. This is where, of course, Sasuke comes out and he's about to run, which Kakashi realizes the bells are about to be gone until Naruto-chan says, "Now Sasuke," and he throws a bunch of kunai and shoots a fireball, which Kakashi gets hit by some of the kunai and get hit by a fireball, which he pretty much hits the ground, pretty much injured. And of course, this is where Naruto, this is where Sakura comes in and grabs the bells and throws the two bells at Sasuke and Naruto-chan, which Naruto-chan splits one of the bells and give one to Sakura. Which this is where Kakashi is, waking back up from injured, and he's saying, "Look like y'all passed." Which all of them is happy, excited that they all passed. Now, this is where, of course, hold on, my bad. It probably to y'all it probably looked like it didn't take an hour, but for me it took like a whole couple minutes to stop that crying noise and stuff. So my bad. I don't want y'all to hear any crying noise, no annoying noise at all. So right now we're gonna continue going. Now, after passing the whole test, and all that, they begin to all start. Well, no, not all start doing missions and stuff. This is where, of course, they Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto-chan begins to go eat at the Robin shop. Now, this is where, of course, as they're all eating at the Robin shop, this is where Sasuke Uchiha begins to say Kushina Uchiha, which, of course, as we all know, that's as a disguised name for Naruto-chan. She begins to say, yeah. Now, of course, this is where she's looking. Sasuke begins to say, "I want to thank you for helping me out with the technique of the Great Fire Style," which Naruto-chan says, "Oh, it was nothing. It was nothing." Which Sasuke says, "It wasn't nothing, but still, thank you." Now, next day, this is where, of course, they're all doing missions and stuff. And they're doing like a couple of missions, like delivery, rescuing cats and all that stuff. And this is where, of course, Naruto, Naruto-chan. Well, Naruto-chan, she doesn't get sick of it, but this is where Sasuke and Sakura get it. All right, sorry about that again. But let's keep continuing. Goodness gracious. Now, after, after doing uh, a lot of little missions, this is where, of course, Sakura and Sasuke, not Naruto-chan, because she doesn't really, well, she does care a little bit. So she cares a little bit, begins to go to Hiruzen and demand a higher mission. Of course, this is where Hiruzen is pretty much saying that he doesn't think they're ready yet, until Kakashi says that he thinks his team can handle it. Now, of course, Hiruzen offers him a sea mission, which is protect Tazuna. Now, of course, the sea mission, of course, they're all excited to ready to do it. To do an escort and leave the village. And saying this will be fun until Tazuna comes in, and he's pretty much looking at the team saying, "Hmm, so this is the team that's gonna protect me." As he's looking at all of them, he sees uh, Naruto-chan, and he begins to, we're gonna say, get aroused and get a boner. Start to get a boner, which he pretty much looks away and says, I guess y'all are gonna protect me," which he pretty much changed his attitude after seeing Naruto-chan, because like I said, she has a banging body. So now, of course, as they're all getting ready, they begin to head out. Now, as they're heading out and stuff, this is where we going to switch back to X and Danzo. Now, X is pretty much talking to Danzo right now, saying, "I think I can find her. I think I know where she at. We probably haven't seen her, but I think she's still in the village somewhere." Which Danzo says, "You think? You think she's still in the village?" "Yeah." Which Danzo says, The moment we find her, we're just gonna have to kill her and just turn her into a mind some." Which X is saying, "You don't really mean that, Grandfather Donzo." Which Donzo looks at his grandson and says, "Oh, I mean it with great pride." And this is where X says, "Well, it's that case then." He stabs Donzo. Pretty much stabs Donzo in the heart. Which Donzo says, "You." Which this is where, of course, X grabs the two eyes from Donzo, grabs the two Sharingan eyes from Donzo that can, give him an extra revive. And he pretty much already like poisoned him a little bit earlier, and he took sushi eyes and saying, "I think I'll be taking those eyes." Which Donzo says, "Damn you dare betray your own grandfather?" Which X says, "No, grandfather, you dare try to kill the one I love?" Which Donzo says, "Damn, this is not." Which X says, "Just die already," and kills Donzo. So Donzo will be dead much earlier than in this what if. Now this is where, of course, X says, "Ambu," which all the Ambus come in and says, "Yes, Lord X." And of course, Donzo, two henchmen that he already had, comes and says, "Yes, X," because they're more loyal to X than Donzo ever before. So they already been switched their colors. Now this is where they, of course, they're down and saying, "Yes," and he begins to grab the two Sharingan eyes from Fukaku, and also from another dude, Uchiha eyes, and it's Madara Uchiha eyes. Now I know what you're saying, Madara Uchiha, but he never died, and he kind of faked his own death. I know what you're saying, but we're gonna say in a couple years back, Madara, he was kind of into the science things, and he created two extra eyes, the same eyes like himself. That was just like his eyes that had the same Sharingan and stuff. And he begins to place them in the two henchmen. And for the rest of the Sharingan eyes, he placed them into the man and woman in the Ambu. which now they're, you could say, Uchihas, because he also emplaced DNA. So his Ambus are now, you could say, Uchihas slash his personal bodyguard. Now this is where he says, all right, for your next order, I need y'all to, I need y'all to find, I need y'all to find Naruto-chan, and she might look different. If you see any notification that dudes that sees it, if you see any notification that has wood style or anything that begins with a Sharingan, that's not normal and not the same like y'all's, that is her, and make sure to report it back to me. Which they all says yes, Lord X, and they begins to head out. Now, of course, this is where X begins to turn around at the two test subjects that's laying on the table, and he's in the tube, and he's saying, "It's almost time." And they're gonna be, and Minato and Kushina, they're gonna be in their teenager prime, so they're not gonna be in their adult prime or old age prime. They're gonna be in their teenager prime. So yeah, we're gonna switch back to Naruto Chan, and Sasuke and Sakura. Now, as they're going out and stuff, this is where uh, they begins to talk to each other and stuff, and this is where they see a puddle. Now, of course, Naruto-chan, she noticed that this is pretty much a trap and begins to say, "This is a trap," which Sasuke and Kakashi says, "Huh? So you noticed?" Which Sasuke says, "Hmm, a trap?" Which Sakura is confused too. Now this is where Naruto-chan begins to say, "Think about it. Why? Think about it. Why would it be a puddle on the ground if it haven't rained for a couple of months now?" Which Sasuke says, "Yeah," and he begins to activate his, we're gonna say his one Tomoe Sharingan, and he begins to say, "All right, I'm ready." And this is where we're gonna say Naruto-chan, she has a lightning sound, and she begins to form. She begins to do the hand signs that says lightning style, lightning ground shock jutsu, and she hits the ground and pretty much shocked the two ninjas uh that's in the water, and they jump out, which is the two demon brothers. Now they begin to start charging until Sakura and Sasuke comes in, and they begins to use their fighting style. Start fighting the two demon brothers and pretty much the patch of them. Because we're gonna say Naruto-chan was training them a little bit better how to fight. Which Kakashi says, "Nice job, y'all two." Now, of course, this is where as they continue going, they see Frog, and they begin to get the sense that this can't be good. Now, as they continue going, this is where Kakashi tells everybody to duck, which everybody duck except for Naruto-chan. She backs up, and the knife and the big blade begins to fly in the tree. Now, as the big blade begins to fly in the tree, this is where Zabuza appears, and he begins to looks around and says, "Huh? So, so this is, the people you hired to protect you." Uh, Tazuna. Now, of course, Tazuna is saying, "Yeah." No, of course, this is where Zabuza starts to introduce his name and saying he's one of the seven swordsmen and stuff, and saying that he's going to be the one to kill Tazuna. Now, of course, this is where Kakashi never did the delegation to the guys, and this did do the interrogation. I already know what's happening, saying so. There was more you didn't tell about, which Taza's saying yes. I'm sorry. Which this is where Zabuza says, "Oh, it's all right. He didn't tell nothing about me. I'm quite glad. I was about to just kill you. I was not telling you nothing, but let's get this over with." And Kakashi begins to, scrap his beef with Zabuza, which, of course, he gets caught by the water and gets trapped in the water prison. Now it has to begin with Sasuke and Naruto-chan to work together to try to get Kakashi out of there. Now, this is where they both activate their Sharingan. which Naruto Chan has the two Tomoe Sharingan, which Sasuke has the one Tomoe Sharingan. Now, of course, this is where uh, Zabuza says, "Oh, so yeah, Uchiha. Hmm, this will be interesting." He begins to start smiling. Now, we're gonna say a Ambu member from X is looking for told them to go check out this person that just came in the village. And the Ambu Ninja is not supposed to do anything but just to watch what's happening. And he sees uh Kushina Uchiha activate a bizarre, Sharingan that's different than theirs and saying, this might be the one, and begins to get going. Now, this is where, of course, Naruto Chan and Sasuke work together and they begins to try to get Kakashi out of the trap prison. I mean the water prison. Jutsu. Now, of course, this is where of course Zabuza swings his sword and they have to back up. Now this is where Naruto and Sasuke does a nod to each other and she begins to charge at Zabuza saying, "You're done for," and has a Rasengan going in her hand, which she charged and trying to hit Zabuza with, which Zabuza blocks the Rasengan and pretty much smacks Naruto Chan away to a tree, which it begins to turn into wood, which Zab which Zabuza is saying, "What? A wood clone?" I'm so sorry that I had to pause the video like 3 or 4 times now. I am so sorry. I'm just trying to get this video good as possible, but clearly my life is just not letting me happen. But let's continue. After Zabuza smacking the wood clone to a tree, and the wood clone pretty much, start turning into wood, Zabuza's saying, "What, a wood clone?" And he begins to look around trying to figure out where is she at. Now this is where, of course, Sasuke throws 1,000 of kunais marked with the seal, with the flying Ranjing seal, which he doesn't know about, and he just start dodging multiple of the blades and stuff. And he begins to, deflect them and stuff, and begins to dodge them with his head left and right. Now this is where he doesn't know that those kunais and stuff has seals on it, and this is where Naruto Chan begins to teleport around and slash Zabuza left and right. Which Zabuza is pretty much, saying, "Ah, damn it," and begins to get cut left and right and stuff. Now this is where, of course, Naruto Naruto Chan she's forming another Rasengan, and which Zabuza begins to think he got the original one, with all the kunais getting teleported left and right, getting cut left and right by all the kunais and stuff. He begins to let go of the water thing, and Kakashi is free, which he says, "Damn it." And this is where Naruto Chan teleports right in front of him and hits him with the Rasengan, sending him flying to another tree and breaks. Now, as Kakashi's pretty much getting his air saying, thank you, Naruto, thank you, Kushina and Sasuke. It look like it's time for me to get real serious now. And he begins to lift up his eye to pretty much show his Sharingan, his three Tomoe Sharingan. And this is where the part two of the fight of Zabuza and Kakashi commits. Now, this is where, of course, Zabuza getting his ass beat 10 times worse by Kakashi because Kakashi gets more serious. And this is where they both do the water dragon style jutsu at each other, which this is where Zabuza backs up and he's about to do it one more time until Naruto Naruto Chan she begins to jumps in and begins to form the same hand seal with the two Tomoe Sharingan, which Zabuza is saying, "Huh, so you're a copier too?" And this is where she does it, and hers is a little bit more stronger than hers is a little bit stronger than Zabuza, and Zabuza gets sent flying, which he's about to get up until he gets hit by the needles, and this is where, of course, I'm gonna say Haku comes and says he was wanted by the Mist Village and disappears, which this is where, of course, the fight is pretty much in it. Now, of course, this is where they're pretty much all walking to Taza's place and they're all resting and stuff. And Naruto-chan, she's pretty much sitting down and pretty much begins to relax. All right, this is the last pausing of the video. Let's get to continue because if I pause it one more time, I might have to just not do a video today. But let's continue. Pretty much, they're at Taz in the house, all resting and stuff, and pretty much all resting and getting their rest and stuff. This is where, of course, Naruto Naruto-chan, she gets up and she begins to tell Naruto and Sakura. I mean, not Naruto and Sakura. My bad. Uh, Sasuke and Sakura to come out so she can teach them how to do. Teach them and help them practice their chakra training, and also teach them how to do water walk and tree walk because we're gonna say Naruto-chan. She knows the stuff. She knows the stuff from the Secret Scroll. So yeah. Pretty much she's teaching them how to water walk and tree walk, which Kakashi is pretty much he's out of commission, so he can't really use any of his chakra, and so he's resting. All right, I'm gonna lose my humanity if I have to pause it one more time, but let's continue. Pretty much, Naruto-chan is teaching Sasuke and Sakura how to water walk and tree walk and how to concentrate their chakra. Now they pretty much have a couple of mess ups they're doing it, but they pretty much achieve it and stuff. And Sasuke pretty much saying he's gonna go on his own and get some one-on-one training. And Sakura says she's gonna practice on her, you could say her ninjutsu, her more of her ninjutsus and stuff, and seeing what other chakra cells she has. Because we're gonna say she has some chakra stuff, some nature chakra, some some not that some nature chakra. Well, chakra natures as she has earth and we're gonna say earth and water. Which are, yeah, we're gonna say no. Yeah, we're gonna say she has earth and water. So she's gonna practice on some water cells and earth cells, which we're gonna say she's gonna practice that on her own. Now we're going to switch with Naruto-chan style, and she begins to go into the forest and begins to rest. Now, of course, this is where she gets up and she sees someone pretty much picking flowers or picking ingredients, healing herbs, and she begins to look and she sees it's Haku. Now they begins to have their talk and stuff, and Haku he looks at her and he begins to blushes. He begins to blush. Now this is where he begins to do the whole speech and stuff, and this is where Naruto-chan she begins to walk close up to him and have him close up on the tree and says, so you're willing to die for the one you love? Which she has a breast on him, which he begins to get a boner and stuff. Now, of course, this is where she noticed that Haku he has a boner, and she begins to grab his. Well, this is gonna be the 18X part, so I recommend kind of getting out the kitchen, but pretty much Haku begins to do a slight moan, and this is where Naruto-chan begins to say, "So, are you the one who saved him?" Which Haku begins to say, "I don't know what you're talking about," and she begins to grab a little bit more tighter on Haku's penis, and he begins to moan. Now, of course, as he's moaning or making a little bit of noise, she begins to lay him down on the grass, and begins to say, "So, are you gonna keep lying, or do I have to continue?" Which Haku begins to split some things out. Now, this is where, of course, things kind of get escalated, and Naruto-chan she begins to undress Haku, which Haku begins to, look, begins to look away, begins to like trying to get her off until she begins to bite on his neck and stuff, and he begins to can't stand anymore. Now, of course, this is where she begins to go down and start sucking Haku, which Haku never got a blowjob before, begins to say, "What is this?" and begins to moment and stuff and show reaction and stuff and all that. Now, as he's showing his reaction, this is where, of course, this motivates Naruto-chan, and she begins to uh pretty much gets to undress herself and shows her boobs and begins to move her panties and says, "You ready for round two?" Which Haku says, "Wait," and she begins to jump down. Well, you could say jump down on Haku's penis, and it whips in her vagina, which Haku begins to make a slight odd noise. Now, as Naruto-chan is going up and down, Haku begins to pretty much like I said, his first time begins to having sex and stuff. Now, this is where she grabs Haku one of his hands and says, "Feel my breast," which Haku begins to say, "What is this?" And she begins to explain as they're having sex. This is her boobs and stuff. Now, this is where Haku kind of thinks on his own and begins to start sucking on one on the other side. And this is where Naruto-chan begins to moan and stuff. Now, as this is happening, uh, we're gonna say Soccer is well, so you could say try to wash up until she sees pretty much Naruto-chan and this boy, you could say, is having sex with her, which Soccer begins to look away, but begins to start feeling herself. Well, you could say fingering herself because of the moans and stuff. Now, as it continues going, Haku begins to say, "I'm about to come," and he does nut in the sauce. Now, as he nuts in the sauce, this is where Haku done nuts in the sauce. Now, of course, Naruto-chan gets his Kinky Kekai because we're gonna say, like I said, that Kinky Kekai was talking about the hoe up or the hoe stand. Pretty much, gives you any Kinky Kekai whoever you have sex with. So, or done nut in you, or you get juice. Now, of course, this is where Haku is like breathing heavily and stuff, and Haku begins to you Haku begins to breathe heavy, and Naruto-chan gets up and pretty much kisses him on the side of his uh forehead and tells him that that was pretty much a good fuck, you could say, and continues to go, which Sakura, already done finger herself, begins to get up and start to blush, and you could say continue going. Now, this is where, of course, Haku gets dressed and begins to head to Zabuza, and he's talking to Zabuza right now and saying that his wounds is not completely devastating, so he can heal up pretty fast to pretty much get ready to fight them. Now, as Haku's talking, he's pretty much is thinking about the whole sex thing and blushing pretty hard about it, which is Zabuza saying, "What's with you blushing? What's with you blushing and thinking so hard? I mean, blushing and looking away," which Haku begins to saying it's nothing, which Zabuza regularly, got laid before. Regularly begins to say, "Did you, let me guess, did you got your cherry popped by a girl?" Which Haku begins to look up and stare straightly at Zabuza, says, "No, it was no one," which Zabuza saying, you don't have to hide it. If you got laid, you got laid. I'm proud of you. Anyways, let's continue having my healing process be almost done. I'm so sorry, guys, but let's continue. Pretty much, Haku is saying it's nothing, which Zabuza is saying, I'm proud of you for getting your cherry pop and stuff. Now we switch to Naruto-chan, Sasuke, and Sakura. Now, as they're talking, as they're pretty much eating and stuff, the kid begins. We're gonna have the whole scene with the kid, and the kid begins to start talking and stuff, and he begins to start explaining the whole, you know, the the guy was like his father or like a father figure, and he died and stuff by doing the village and stuff. Which this is where, of course, Sock Naruto Chan, which Naruto Chan begins to do the whole speech and stuff, and Sprite Kid and all that. Now we're gonna have the bridge scene fight. Now, of course, since Haku has sex with Naruto Chan, the fights is kind of gonna be different. Now, this is where Haku is pretty much, standing there ready to attack until he sees her, which he's kind of hesitating and trying to focus, which Zabuza sees a little bit of the reaction, saying, could it be her? Hmm, I hope not. Oh well, let's go. And they begin to do the Super Saiyan. Now, this is where Kakashi tells Sakura to defend the Pin while he fights Zabuza, and also Haku fights pretty much fights whew, yeah, pretty much Kakashi fights Zabuza, and while Naruto Chan and or you could say Kashino Uchiha and Sasuke go fight Haku, which Sakura says okay. Now this is where of course they go in their separate ways and they begin to fight. Now, as they fight, this is where Haku activate her ice mirrors and begins to say, "This is my Kinki Kinkai ice mirrors," uh, which Naruto Chan begins to say, "Huh, they're, hmm." Now this is where, of course, as the simple news again shot at Naruto and Naruto Chan. I mean, Naruto Chan and Sasuke has to dodge the ice and stuff. This is where Sasuke begins to shoot a fireball at one of the ice mirrors and melts one of them, but it slowly forms back. Now this is where, of course, as we're gonna say, Naruto Chan is backing up to one of the ice mirrors. She accidentally goes into one and realizes that she has the same Kiki Kenkai. She doesn't know how, but she has the same Kiki Kenkai as him. Now this is where, of course, Haku looks around, trying to see where the hell that she went until he sees one of his mirrors and sees that she's in one of the mirrors. Now this is where half of the other mirrors begins to, turn into her, well, Naruto-chan, and this is where Haku and Naruto-chan begins to have their fight in the ice mirrors, and now they're fighting left and right, shooting symbol moves at each other and stuff. And Sasuke's trying to concentrate, and he pretty much forms a two Tomoe Sharingan, and well, the two Tomoe, and he begins to trying to trace the steps and stuff, and he trying not to get hit by the symbol moves and stuff. And this is where, of course, this is the first time of Naruto-chan using the Kinki Genkai Ice style. She begins to head out the mirror pretty much a little bit injured, and she's saying, "Huh, damn, I really thought I would have him." Which Haku's saying, "You haven't had more experience of this Kinki Genkai, I see." And he begins to go for the killing blow. Now, as he's going for the killing blow, this is where Sasuke jumps in and he takes the hit. Now, as she's pretty much seeing Sasuke takes the whole hit, he begins to lay down and, cough for blood sink. And Naruto Chin begins to say, Sasuke, Sasuke, why did you do it? Why did you take the full blunt force from me? Which he begins to saying that he doesn't know why he jumped. He just know that maybe he didn't want to see the same situation happen again and see another Uchiha die. And he begins to fade out. Not die, but fade out. Which this is where Naruto-chan thinks he died and begins to go angry. But this is not no different angry. This is the psychopath due to the experiments, and she begins to start crying. Now this is where she's laughing, and laughing benignly, and she begins to say, "This is where you're going to die." And this is where the two-tail shadow, well, the two-tail nine-tail cloak comes in, and she begins to scream. Now, of course, this is where of course, as she's screaming, she begins to melt all the ice mirrors, and Haku hops out, pretty much looking and saying, what kind of chakra is this? It's disgusting." Which this is where Naruto-chan blitz in, pretty much using the fly ranging and those kunai to use the flying raging pretty much uppercuts Haku, and she's punching him in the stomach multiple times and grabs his face and begins to slam him down at the table. Now, as he slams him down, I mean, not slam him down the table, slams him down on the ground, and pretty much, makes a crater on the ground. Now, as Haku begins to try to get up, she begins to punch him in his face multiple times until she sees the crack mask and realizes it's him. Now she begins to pull herself together and begins to, you know, like pretty sure, pretty sure, step back to her senses and begins to cry. And says, "Why did you do it? Why did you kill him?" Which Haku says, "I didn't know. I was just trying to injure you. I wasn't trying to kill him or you. He jumped in." Which this is where Kakashi forms the lightning blade and charge at pretty much Zabuza and about to kill him until Haku jumps in the way and about to take the full blunt until Naruto Chan jumps in front of Haku and takes the full lightning blade. Now Kakashi realized that he pretty much hit Naruto Chan, or you could say Kushina Uchiha, in the stomach with it, pretty much thinking that he pierced through her and killed her. Which this is where Naruto Chan is taking the full blunt for it, but not getting pierced because remember the other Kinky Kenkai. I was talking about the bone one, but it's a stronger version. So her skin and her body can't really get pierced. So as she's getting hit by the lightning blade, she's more like getting shocked, and she hits the ground. Now Kakashi pretty much runs and pretty much says no, no, and he begins to, you know, saying what have I done until Naruto Chan gets up and says, "Yeah, you're an idiot. Both of you are idiots. You know that, especially you, Haku." And this is where she does the whole speech and stuff and says the whole things and stuff. And Zabuza, begins to start crying and saying all that stuff. Now this is where, of course, the henchman comes in and stuff. And Naruto Chan begins to get up and says, "These are our true enemies here." And Zabuza says, "Right." And he begins to grab his broken blade until uh, he cut his own hand and feeds his blade blood and fix it back up. Now this is where he begins to get up and says, "Are you ready, Haku?" Which Haku says, "Yeah." And Naruto Chan says, "Don't forget about me." Which Haku says, "You should really be resting. You just took a whole like lightning blade force." Which Kakashi saying, "Yeah." Which Naruto Chan says, "No. I think I'm going to be helping out to get revenge for Sasuke." Which this is where, of course, they fought the henchmen and pretty much defeat them. Now, the now this after the whole fight, this is where, of course, Naruto Chan begins to pick up Sasuke, begins to pick him up, and Sasuke, well, begins to about to pick him up till Sasuke start coughing up and saying, "Ugh, you don't have to carry me like I'm your princess." Which Naruto Chan begins to start crying and hugs him and says, "I thought you was dead." Which Sasuke says, "Nah, he's not dead." Now, of course, this is where the villagers name it the Great Naruto Bridge, and Naruto and Kakashi and Sakura begins to head back to the Leaf Village. Now, of course, this is where Zabuza and Haku ask to join them because they kind of hate going around the whole village, going around the whole things and stuff, and trying to and keep getting hunted down by the mist ninjas. So they want to, go to a village that can give them protection, which this is where, of course, Zabuza, of course, Kakashi says, "Of course, y'all can join us, but you're gonna have to tell us some things about the Mist Village." Which Zabuza says he gladly tell them what he knows. Now, as they're heading back, as they're heading back, this is where, of course, they make it back to the Leaf Village and stuff, and Hiruzen pretty much, uh, Kakashi pretty much tells, you know, his team to go get a rest while he brings Haku and Zabuza to Hiruzen so they can get registered to be in here, to be in the Leaf Village. Now, as that happening, this is where, uh, whew, this is where Sakura asks for both of them to come to her house to pretty much chill out, which, you know, not ask both of them, ask Sasuke to come to the house to hang out with them, which Sasuke says, yeah. Now, as they go into the house, this is where Naruto Chan is laying on the couch, pretty much, resting, saying, huh, that mission was a pain in my ass, which Sasuke says, yeah, I can say. And also Sakura. Now, they're pretty much eating and stuff, and also relaxing and stuff. And this is where, of course, this is where Sakura says that she was really worried about them, both dying, which, you know, she begins to, we're gonna say, do a crybaby tears and begins to tear up, which this is where uh Naruto Chan says, "Stop crying like a baby. We're not gonna die." Which they all begins to laugh together. Now the next day, this is where they're pretty much talking to Kakashi, and Kakashi is informing them about a build test and stuff. Now, as Kakashi's talking about the build test and stuff, this is where Zabuza comes in, and he's pretty much wearing the same style as Kakashi, and begins to say, "Huh? So you're telling them about the tuning exams?" Which Haku appears behind Zabuza and begins to run up and say, well, begins to walk and say, "Hey guys," which Sasuke begins to say, "Hey," and Sakura and Naruto Chan says, "Oh hey, Haku, are you going to be a part of our team?" Which Haku begins to say, "Well, yeah, they put me with Team 7, which, Naruto Chan is saying awesome, and, the rest of the team. Now, this is where Kakashi is explaining all the stuff, and Zabuza is pretty much saying that he better not see none of them be afraid of doing the training exams, which, Naruto Chan saying that she's not going to be afraid, and also the rest of them, especially Zabuza looking down at Haku saying, "Don't give it your all, Haku," which Haku says right. Now, Zabuza is going to be with Team 7 as a second constructor, not as he's not gonna have. Actually, no, he's not gonna be with Team 7. He's gonna be with another team. He's gonna be the instructor for Hiruzen's grandson, and and his friends. So yeah, he's gonna train them and stuff. Now, this is where, of course, they begin to go to the training exams. Now, the first test they passed it with ease because Naruto Chan has a 3 Tomoe due to that fighting experience, and Sasuke has a 2 Tomoe. Now, Haku, of course, passes it with ease. Well, the second one they pass it with ease, not the first one. Actually, no, the first one they pass it with ease, and they reach up to the second floor. Now they're pretty much waiting and trying to see what's going on until Rock Lee challenges Sasuke, to a fight for Sakura love. Now, of course, Sakura is doing the I don't even like you or love you," which Rock Lee is blowing his kisses, and Sakura is, blocking, dodging them and stuff. Now, this is where, of course, uh, Naruto Chan says that she wants to also fight uh, Rock Lee too, just to see what he got. Which Rock Lee says he regularly don't go easy on girls. So, is he true? Is she sure that she wants to fight him? Which she says, yeah. What the hell? Now, this is where Rock Lee fights Sasuke, and of course Sasuke gets bodied. Now, this is where Rock Lee looks at Naruto Chan and charges at her, and he begins to go for a swing kick, which Naruto Chan catches it and pretty much throws him to the wall. Now, Rock Lee pretty much gets up and he charges again, and he's throwing punches at Naruto Chan, which the punches is really not phasing her and really not working against her. And she's pretty much saying, huh, is that all you got? Which Rock Lee's about to activate the first gate until Might Guy comes in and smacks him and says, That's not what I teach. Which Rock Lee says, sorry, master. Which this is where Mike Guy says, which this is where Mike Guy says, sorry about my student doing that. Which Naruto Chan says. Now, of course, this is where Mike Guy says, Mike Guy says he's sorry about what he did and stuff, and Naruto Chan says, oh, it's okay, it's fine, but you have a good student there who's pretty good at fighting. Which Mike Guy says, oh, thank you, and begins to head off with Rock Lee. Now, this is where the second test comes in, and it's the cheating, which their whole team is passed, which Team 7 passed, including Haku, because he's a part of Team 7. Now, this is where the next part comes in, and they're pretty much doing the Force of Death arc. Now, now, this is where, of course, Haku is pretty much is talking, is talking with Sasuke, and pretty much talking about Naruto Chan, and pretty much saying that he has feelings for Naruto. Well, for Kushina Uchiha, which Sasuke is saying, okay, well, what does it have to do to me? Which Haku says, I see you how you look at her when she's not looking at you, or when she's focused on something else. I saw you looking at her at the cheating, at the testing thing. You had you looked at her at the whole way after you was done with your work, just staring at her. So you do have feelings for her, which Sasuke is saying. So what is that? What does that mean? Which Haku begins to say, well, I'm not gonna lose against you. I'm gonna have her as mine. Which Sasuke begins to says, like that cares, like I care, and walks away. Now, this is where she explains the whole thing and the whole rules and stuff. And Naruto Chan says, huh, okay, that sounds easy. Which she begins to, tap everybody on the, like, shaking everybody's hands, telling them all good luck. Which, all the students are saying, oh, okay, cool, cool, all that. And she's pretty much putting seals on them. Now, this is where the teacher says, or your mark gets set, go, and they all head out to the forest. Now, of course, this is where Naruto Chan pretty much forms two wood style clones and go get the scrolls that she was supposed to get, and pretty much grabs the scrolls and bring them back to her. So they're pretty much all set and begins to start going. Now, as they're going, this is where we're gonna say Sakura. We're gonna say, well, no, we're gonna say this is where Naruto Chan says she has to use the bathroom because she has to use it for a while. Which this is where Sasuke says, ah, all right, and Sakura saying, really? Haku begins to laugh a little bit, but says, all right. Now, as Naruto Chan begins to go use the bathroom, this is where, of course, she gets ambushed by Orochimaru. And we're going to say this giant snake is trying to go eat Naruto Chan. When she pretty much dealt with one of the snakes. Now, this is where we switch to Sasuke. And Sasuke pretty much asking for password because they never did a password. And Naruto Chan begins to say the password, which Sasuke knows this is a trap, and he fires a fireball at the pretty much at the clone thing. Well, at the person, and it's Orochimaru, which Orochimaru pretty much says, "So you see too much disguise," and begins to show himself. Now, of course, this is where Sasuke says, "Who are you?" Which this is where Orochimaru begins to smile and says, "Well, I am Orochimaru," which Haku pretty much says, "I heard about Orochimaru. I heard a lot about Orochimaru. Zabuza told me about him. He was trying to offer Zabuza a job to pretty much make stronger, and was trying to have Zabuza join him, but Zabuza never joined him." Which uh, Haku's talking to Sasuke about it now. Orochimaru saying, "Oh, so Zabuza had a companion with him. How cute!" And begins to charge and have his fight with Sasuke and Haku, and not Sakura because, well, we're gonna say Sakura too because Sakura was pretty much having a fight with Orochimaru because, like I said, she'd been having some training experience and stuff, and plus she went to the library and learned some Earth styles and some Water styles. Now, this is of course where Orochimaru summons another big snake to charge at Sasuke and them until Naruto-chan charges down and she punched down on the snake's forehead, which this is where Sakura summoned a Earth style Earth Spike Jutsu to pierce through the snake, and she pretty much be by the side Haku and be in the middle with besides Haku and Sasuke saying, "So who's this? Who's this weirdo?" Which Haku begins to say this is Orochimaru, and in which Naruto Chan says, "Huh? So you're Orochimaru? Okay, then let's see how you deal with all of us. With deal with the four of us." And begins to activate her Sharingan, her three Tomoe Sharingan, which Sasuke begins to activate his Sharingan, and he has the three Tomoe Sharingan. Now, of course, this is where Orochimaru says, "Ha, two Uchihas, but your eyes are quite different. Huh? Doesn't matter. Let's go then." And he begins to charge at them. Now, Naruto, and Sasuke begins to work together to pretty much fight Orochimaru, and they pretty much send him flying to a tree. Now, this is where Naruto and Sasuke throws a wire trap and it wraps around Orochimaru, tying him up, so he's stuck to the tree. Now, this is of course where uh, Naruto activate Wood Style and pretty much do Wood Style uh, wood wood trap jutsu, which she be she begins to have the vines trap like go in Orochimaru and trapping his body still. Which Orochimaru is pretty much doing the screaming, getting overwhelmed. Realize he's getting overwhelmed. This is where he's about to trying to get out until Haku activate his ice mirrors and put the ice mirrors around the tree, which Orochimaru looks and says, "What is this?" And Haku begins to shoot 1,000 symbol needles. Now this is where, of course, Sakura says, "Let me do this," and she begins to summon two boulders and say, Earth boulders, Earth bullets jutsu, which she begins to shoot Earth bullets at Orochimaru. Now, as the ice symbol means again shot at Orochimaru and the Earth bullets getting shot at Orochimaru, this is where Sasuke and Naruto-chan jumps up and shoot a massive fireball, which shoots at two fireballs with it combined together and makes two massive a giant massive fireball and hits Orochimaru, which Orochimaru begins to start screaming in agonizing pain, and they think Orochimaru is pretty much dead. Now, as they're pretty much saying we did great, this is where Orochimaru goes in and he's going for a bite, which this is where of course we're gonna say Sakura jumps in the way and gets bit in the neck by by Orochimaru, which Orochimaru says, "Damn it!" and he goes for another bite and he bites Sasuke in the neck. Which now Sasuke and Sakura has the curse mark. Now, of course, this is where Orochimaru's pretty much seated at his thing and begins to get going. This is where uh, of course, Naruto Chan begins to try to leap to stop Orochimaru until Orochimaru kicks her back, sending her flying back, which she says, "Ah, damn it," which Orochimaru disappears. Now, this is where, of course, ah, sorry, this is where, of course, uh, Naruto, Naruto-chan grabs Sakura and start carrying her and tells Haku to carry Sasuke in, pretty much to get going, and they begins to start heading. Now, as they're going, this is where they make it out of a secret place and they begin to start resting and making fire. Now, this is where Naruto Chan says, "Damn it, she didn't have she thought she thought they killed him, which she's getting pissed off, which Haku's saying none of us didn't think he can do that, which of course Sakura and Sasuke is pretty much resting. Now, as they're pretty much talking to each other, Haku's pretty much alright, I'm not gonna say sorry, but let's just finish trying to finish this. But pretty much, yeah, Haku is pretty much looking down and pretty much talking to Naruto Chan and begins to say, so do you have anyone that you like or love? Which this is where Naruto Chan begins to look at Haku and begins to smile and says, why? Is there someone you like or love? Which he's pretty much looking down and saying, yeah, she's actually the first person who took my virginity, you could say, which she begins to start blushing and says, uh, and Haku begins to about to say his feelings until, of course, the hidden mist ninjas or the sound ninjas begins to appear and says, "We're here to get Sasuke. They're here to get Sasuke Uchiha. Says get Sasuke and Sakura Uchiha. I mean, not Sakura Uchiha. Sasuke and Sakura Haruno, because Orochimaru is not going to leave one of his experiments. I mean, one of his curse marks unscathed. So he's going to take both of them. This is where, of course, Naruto Naruto begins to get up and says, "Well, you're gonna have to go through me and him." Which this is where, of course, Naruto, as she's trying to get up, she pretty much feels woozy and trying to figure out what's happening, and she realized that they both been poisoned. Haku, Haku and Naruto. They realized they've been poisoned by Orochimaru. Now, as they're pretty much falling down and stuff, this is where Naruto she begins to say, "What the hell's going on?" and closes her eyes. Now, this is where she ends up in the mind of the Nine Tails. Now, this Nine Tails is pretty much different, and he's saying, "Huh, Naruto, Naruto, or should I say Naruto-chan? I am Kurama, the Nine Tails." Which this is where they're pretty much having their introduction, talking to each other. Now, Kurama's pretty much explaining to her like that he's the Nine Tails Cherokee and all this stuff. And she begins to ask questions saying, well, what's happening right now? This is where Kurama shows, the shows what's happening, and Haku's he's pretty much poisoned, but he's pretty much trying to hold all three of them off. Now, as he's trying to, hold them off, because he's been poisoned too, Naruto Chan begins to say, then she has to get back. She has to wake back up before he gets killed. Now this is where, of course, the Ninetales saying, well, of course he's gonna get killed. But I just wanted to tell you who I am, and I want you to, I want you to make one deal with me. You have to talk to me sometimes. Which Naruto-chan says okay, and this is where Kurama gives her a chakra boost and wakes her back up. Now, as she's about to get up, this is where Sasuke and Sakura is saying, how dare you touch Haku? Which Haku is, badly injured and stuff, and coughing up a little bit of blood. Now, this is where, of course, Sakura goes for the girl, and she pretty much knees her in the face, sending her flying to a tree, which Naruto-chan witnessed hurt, which is Sakura just knees a girl and face, sending her flying to a tree. Now, this is where the boy is about to shoot an air tube at his both at uh with both his arms until Sasuke grabs both of his arms and pretty much breaks both of his arms, which leaves him screaming. Then the last ninja, he's pretty much about to do something until Sakura appears right behind him and snaps his neck, pretty much killing him in the process. Now, the curse marks is pretty much forming around Sakura and Sasuke's, side of their arm and stuff in their face. This is where, of course, the girl, she's pretty much terrified, and Sakura puts her foot on her neck, pretty much saying any last words, which this is where Naruto Chan says, no, this is are you really going to kill her? Which she says, which Sakura says, you're right. And she just kicks her in the face, pretty much knocking her out. Now, she knocks her out. This is where they continue going and they make it in second. Make it in second, which, the instructor saying, congratulations, you made it in second in the, Forest of Death. Behind, Gar's team. Now, as they're pretty much, heading aside, this is where Naruto Chan begins to talk to Kakashi and explain the whole situation with Sasuke and Sakura, which Kakashi is saying this is not good, and he begins to say, "Well, we're gonna have them get disqualified," which Sasuke and Sakura says, "No, they don't want to get disqualified. They can handle the curse word," which Kakashi says, "All right, but if anything happens and it goes further on, he's going to cancel the match immediately," which they say, okay. Now everything goes as the same. Now this is going to be the fight between Naruto-chan and Kiba. Now Kiba is pretty much, looking and saying, "So you're Uchiha. I always wanted to fight a Uchiha. Now I'm going to kick your ass and prove that I don't care if you're a girl. I'm going to kick your ass and prove that I'm going to be the best of the best," which this is where Naruto-chan says, "Let's see you try." Which this is where Kiba does his whole signature thing and have his dog create a clone like him and begins to charge at Naruto-chan. Which this is where they charge at her at once, and which Naruto-chan, she grabs both of them and slams them down to the ground and pretty much knocks them out. Pretty much not using any Sharingan or anything. Pretty much winning it. And everything else goes as the same. And except for the fight with Sakura, and that fight goes a little bit different because Sakura has the curse mark and the influence, so she kind of beat the shit out of a little bit worse, without taking a scratch or anything. Now, this is where everything else goes the same, except for an extra fight with Haku, and Haku pretty much wins. Instead of the fight with Tenten and Hinata, it's with Haku and Tenten, and Haku pretty much wins that. Now, this is where the fight with Neji and Hinata comes in. Well, female Neji versus male Hinata, and the same thing pretty much happens. But this is where Naruto-chan jumps in and pretty much kicks female Neji away. It pretty much asks if she's asking what the hell is wrong with you. That's your own brother, which female Neji pretty much spits out a little bit, but it says, huh, that failure, Hugo? Yeah, right. And pretty much walks away, which she pretty much is getting pissed off. Now, this is where Hinata Hyuga, he's waking up and saying, ugh, and sees that he's pretty much at the stands saying what happened, which he realized that he's on her lap. Now he's pretty much asking what happened, and she's pretty much explaining that his own sister was trying to kill him, which he says, "Oh, I remember now," and begins to say out the question he was holding and saying, "Are you Naruto-chan? Are you Naruto-chan? When did you change your hair?" Which she begins to, blush and says, "What? What do you mean?" Which this is where Hinata Hyuga, he begins to say, "You can't fool me with those looks. I know that's you. I can tell that's you." Which she begins to say, "Well, you got to keep it as a secret, okay?" Which this is where he says, "Your secret is safe with me." Now, of course, this is where everything, ends, and then they get like a 2 week of training so they can get ready for the second part of the tuning exams. And everybody's, resting up and stuff. and all that. This is where, you know, uh, Naruto-chan asks for a training, a better training person. Asks for a trainer, which this is where, Hiruzen pretty much is saying, well, I don't know if he's gonna accept you, but this is where he says you can talk to Jiraiya. You can talk to Jiraiya. You might, you may not know him, but he's one of the Sony. He might accept you as one of his people. Probably, probably not. But let's go. Now, this is where Naruto Chan begins to start going and stuff. But this is where he gets stopped. No, this is where she gets stopped by X and saying, Naruto Chan, it's been a while since you left. Which she turns around and sees that it's pretty much X. And she's saying X. Which he pretty much appears in front of her and he kisses her on the lips. And he pretty much says, how I missed you. Now, this is part 2 of What If Naruto Was a Hoe. If you like, share, like, comment, all that stuff. But I'm Keyshawn Chia. Thanks for watching, and peace out.
It looks like you lost another one.